Okay, yesterday we were talking about Behar. Okay, so yesterday we started talking about Shmita and the idea that it's supposed to instill us with certain belief in God, certain have the faith, and nowadays Shmita is d'Rabbanan, but it applies. In Eretz Yisrael, every 7 years, we just had a Shmita year. I think 2 years ago was a Shmita year, and all the laws are still in force. Shmita has to be kept. The one controversial what takes place. See if it's land owned by a non-Jew in Eretz Yisrael is not bound by the Shmita laws. So what happens is in the Shmita year, in order to circumvent that, they have what's called the Heter Mechira, where the government sells the land of Israel. The chief rabbinate sells the land of Israel to a non-Jew for the year, and that way all the Shmita producing farmers don't have to worry about their produce is not got Shmita limitations, but that is not accepted by the mainstream. That leniency is not expected by the mainstream. There are poskim who do abide by it. Rav Kook I don't know, but Rav Ovadia Yosef yes. But the rest of the mainstream, the Chazon Ish, and the mainstream yeshiva communities do not. Rav Ovadia Yosef has basis for his psak, and his psak was generally something that was for the more traditional that sort of thing. But the mainstream does not hold by that psak. The mainstream holds by the psak of the Chazon Ish, that the sale of the land of Israel can't be, you can't rely on that as a legitimate sale. Okay, that you'll have to ask your own posek about. Now, in posek Ches, 696, V'safarta lecha sheva shabsos shonim sheva shonim sheva pe'amim. Page 696, 4 lines from the bottom. You count 7 years, 7 times. V'hayu lecha yemei sheva shabsos hashonim teisha v'arba'im shana. And the 7 years, 7 times is going to be 49 years, which is obvious. Why does it need to tell you that? I mean, if you multiply 7 by 7 is 49. The Torah says, well, you're going to count 7 years, 7 times, then you're going to end up to 7 years, 7 times, it's going to be 49 years. So I did see one of the Mefarshim of the Ha'emek Dover from the Netziv. So he says, well, in case you think, sometimes we have leap years. In as opposed to one extra day when you use a solar calendar and the lunar calendar, we had an extra month. 7 times in 19 years, there's a leap year. There's Adar Bays. 7 times in 19 years, because by doing that, if you make them do the math, we lose 11 days, 354 to 365, so we lose 11 days to the solar year. In order to keep the seasons as they are, that's why Pesach always comes out in the spring. Otherwise, it would be like the Arabs. They eat a Ramadan. Ramadan sometimes comes out in summer, sometimes it comes out in winter, because they will have a lunar month. They follow a lunar calendar without any adjustments. We make an adjustment, and if you do the math, 7 times in 19 years, so that comes out to the once in a little less than once in 3 years, in order to keep those 30 days that we lose to the solar year. So in case you would think that by counting the years you also count the months, and then you get to 49 years before the 7 times 7. So the Torah emphasizes, no, it's 7 years times 7 times, regardless of what kind of years those are, whether those are leap years or whether they're not leap years. So in what do you call it, in the hey, Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. The Yamim HaYemei. So the what do you call it, in the solar calendar. So if you're born on February 29th, so you have a birthday once every 4 years. Right? They add 1 day once every 4 years. So if you're born on February 29th, in the Torah calendar, if you're born on Adar Beis, right? Adar Rosh Chodesh Adar, and there's Rosh Chodesh Adar Aleph and Rosh Chodesh Adar Beis. Now, let's say somebody's born Rosh Chodesh Adar in a regular year. Then there's a leap year. Right? Let's say their 13th, their bar mitzvah year is a leap year. When do they become bar mitzvah? On the second Adar. So my wife's birthday is on Adar Aleph. She was born on Adar Aleph, so I made it very clear to her, right when we were, I think even when we were going out, I don't want any confusion here, that her birthday is on Adar Beis each year if there's a leap year. And then none of this two presents every leap year, forget that. It's one present and it's on the later month, right? So it gives me an extra month to forget her birthday. So yeah, so I made that clear. I made that clear at the outset. The what do you call it? So that's why that's according to the commentaries. That's why. Could you make it colder in here? By the way, it feels like there's something. It feels like it's something's on it. Oh, thank you.
Rabbi, do you do 8 gifts on Hanukkah?
What?
Do you do 8 gifts on Hanukkah to your kids? A gift each day of Hanukkah?
Yeah, each one of them gives me a gift on each day of Hanukkah. Yeah. No. Okay. Let them give me a gift. Well, I got to give them a gift. Well, who made that up? They work. At least somebody does. Okay. Now, what happens after 40? Now, we're on to something else. Ve'avarta shofar trua b'chodesh hashvi. You will blow a shofar on the 7th month, be'esor lachodesh, which is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur of the 7th month on a Yovel year. Biyom haKippurim taviu shofar v'kol artzachem. You're going to blow shofar on the 50th year. V'kidashtem shnasa chamishim shana. You're going to sanctify the 50th year. We're going to analyze this in a second. Ukrasem dror ba'aretz l'chol yoshveh. There's freedom in the land. Yovel hi tiyeh lachem. What they call the Jubilee year. Yovel is Jubilee. V'shavtem ishal achuzaso. Each man returns. You get your land back. V'icho mishpachto teshuva. You go back to your families. Okay, what's going on here? So first of all, realize that you have a Shmita year every 7 years. The 49th year is a Shmita year. The 50th year is a Yovel year, and you also don't work the land. So you got 2 years in a row that you're not going to be working the land. 2 years in a row that you're going to be that the farmers don't work their produce. Okay, then you're going to have a bumper crop that's going to take you all the way through till the end of Yovel. That's the promise of the Torah. Now, what happens on the Yovel year? So first of all, they blow the shofar. Why are they blowing a shofar on Yom Kippur of the Yovel year? On Rosh Hashanah of the Yovel year, all Hebrew slaves go free. Remember, there are 2 types of Hebrew slaves. There's a 6-year guy. He's sold for 6 years. And then if he wants to stay on at the end of 6 years, they drill his ear. Right? They drill his ear, and then he stays on for good. For good means until the Yovel year. And in the Yovel year, they all go free. Rosh Hashanah of the Yovel year, they're freed. And the master gives them, he makes banquets and feasts for them, and he treats them like free men. They blow a shofar, and then they go home at the end of the Yovel year. That's what it says. The Yovel year, the shofar is blown, and everybody goes. Now the question is, why are they sounding a shofar? Right? The Tekabi shofar godol l'cheruseinu. Sound the great shofar to signal our freedom. So the Mefarshim say like this. First of all, before we even get to let's analyze it at a deeper level. At what age does a person become halachically liable in the eyes of heaven?
13 or 12. I was 13. 20.
In the eyes of heaven at 20 years old. Down here at 13. Down here at 13. A 13-year-old, a 14-year-old who commits a crime is liable down here. When he's 20, then he's liable b'dinei shemayim. You don't get punished as a teenager, Baruch Hashem. You don't get punished for what you did during your teenage years, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows, just like your parents know, that as a teenager, you're basically mindless. As a teenager, you are an unidentified flying creature, and everybody understands that a teenager does not, you're in all state of confusion. Is he an adult? Is he a child? And no matter what you treat him as, he's the opposite. So a teenager is that, but physically, you're fully developed. So you can't have a society where people are going to run. So there has to be some sort of control on people who are 13 years old. So if they commit a crime, they're punished because that's the only language people understand. But if they, in the eyes of heaven, since you're not emotionally mature and you're not mentally mature, so it's only at 20 years old that the punishment from heaven begins. You never heard that idea before? Never heard that idea before? And you'll notice what's unique about it is it's a cycle of 7. 13 years old till 20 is 7 years. For girls, they mature much faster. Girls are mature. The girls are 12 years old. They're already more mature. For a male, it's 7 years, and that's why you find the 7-year cycle everywhere. Even the Shmita is a 7-year cycle. Shabbos is a 7-day weekly cycle. A celebration after you get married is a 7-day cycle. The person sits Shiva Rachman, it's a 7-day cycle. It's always cycles of 7. So here you have a cycle of 7 years in order to finish the maturing process. You start at 13. You start at 13 years old, and after from 13, take a chumash, pass out the chumash. You start at 13 years old, and then it culminates when you're 20 years old. And so the average lifespan is 70 years old. So it turns out, how many years of real productivity does a person have? 20 to 70 is 20 till 70 is 50, right? They're 50 years of productivity. Right? The 13 to 20 is in the apprentice stage, but the real productivity begins when you're 20 years old till you're 50 years old. So the Torah is telling you, start counting the years. Count the years till you're 70, because the average lifespan is 70. If a person's really starting to make it to 80, I told you, women live longer than men. Women live nowadays, the average lifespan for men is about 76, I think 74, 75, 76, something like that. For women, it's close to 80. Women live longer than men. No, Israel, we do not know why that is. We can take a guess, but we don't know. But we don't. But that's a fact. Now, the Torah is telling. The pasuk says the average lifespan is. The pasuk says that the average lifespan is 70. So 20 to 70 is 50 years. What's the Torah telling you over here? The Torah is telling you over here, and the Torah says count the years. Beis Din counts the years. They make an announcement. Year 23 of the cycle, of the Yovel cycle. It's telling each individual count the years. When you count, you're more conscientious about what you're doing. If you just kind of meander through, time passes without doing anything. If you're focused on counting, so then, whoa, what time is it? Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Boy, well, let's get busy. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Wow, a whole hour passed. What did I do this last hour? Oh, 11 o'clock. If you're really focused on a clock, so you're going to be more productive. If you're not focused on the clock, you just kind of, meander on through the day. So then the day passes, and then you look back and you really did nothing much more productive than eating lunch twice. So nothing really took place. So the Torah is telling you the same thing with life. Start counting time. Start paying attention. Because if you don't pay attention, you can wake up one day and suddenly you're 28 years old, and what's happened over? What have I done? And then you're 37 years old, and what have I done? And then you're 52 years old, and what have I done? And a person looks back and says, well, where did all that time go? And therefore, the Torah says, start counting time. And you get to the 70th year. Then what happens? You blow a shofar. Then what happens? The slaves go free. Who's the ultimate slave? The ultimate slave is our neshama in our body. Our neshama doesn't want to be here. The neshama, when the neshama is up in Shemayim, the neshama says, okay, go down there. Really? Yeah. Do I have to? Yep, you do. Him? Yeah. But he's from Cleveland. All right. Yeah. Well, next time be better, and that won't happen to you. Right? So, and then the neshama comes out, and the neshama is trapped. The neshama doesn't want to be in this world. The neshama does not like physical pleasure. The neshama doesn't like material. The neshama is pure. So the neshama is the slave that's trapped in this world. And when does that slave go free? In the 70th year. So, but the Torah is talking about a physical person who's a slave, and he goes free in the 70th year. Then before I should say symbolically, that's really the neshama that is trapped in the body, and the neshama eventually goes to its resting place at the 70th year. And therefore, a person should start counting time so that their neshama goes to the right place. It doesn't have to come back down to Cleveland. That's the message of the deeper message. At a plain level, the Torah is telling you, you got this guy living on your property. Now, this guy has been around for 49 years. And you've gotten used to it. You don't even have to build your sukkah anymore. You just call over, hey, Ruby, do me a favor. We need the sukkah built. Right? We need we're going out to the fields today to to plow the field. And you get used to having an extra hand around. And all of a sudden, in the Shmita year, the Yovel year, everybody goes home, including the 6-year slaves. Like, whoa. Well, what am I going to do? I had a whole project over here. So there's a sound the shofar. What are you sounding the shofar for? Why are you sounding a shofar when these people go free? So the Farshim say, did you ever hear the expression, Tzoras Rabim Chatzi Nechama? Tzoras Rabim Chatzi Nechama means when there's communal distress, when there's trouble for more than one, that's half the consolation. Did you ever get trouble in school? You say, you never got trouble. I don't believe you. You can't talk Lashon Hara about yourself. On those occasions that you got in trouble, right, you're in the principal's office, and you're sitting there like, oh man, boy, am I gonna get? My parents are gonna they're gonna do things that haven't been seen since the Spanish Inquisition. They are gonna, and all of a sudden the door opens, and they send your friend, and he got nailed too. How do you feel at that moment? Then the two of you just sit there joking around, but you feel good. Why? Why do you feel good? What good that your parents are still going to waterboard you? So what good does it do? What good does? You're not alone. Psychologically, there's an idea. Tzoras Rabim Chatu. When others are suffering, then it's not so bad. I saw a line once. Somebody said, if it wouldn't be for our neighbors suffering, if it wouldn't be for our neighbors' ordeals, life would be positively unbearable. So what is that? Where's that? It's not because we're nasty people. Oh, my car broke down. Oh, there's another car broke down on the highway too. Oh, good. What are we? We're such miserable people. It's not what it is. When a person is suffering, and you notice the words of Chazal. Chazal are very precise. Tzoras Rabim, Chatzi Nechama. That's half of a consolation. The guy that crashed, what was it, 2000, when did the big market crash? 2008? So the market crashes. The guy loses, guy goes bankrupt. It's devastating. Then he finds out that it happened to 6 other guys in shul. How does he feel? Amazing not. He doesn't feel amazing. There's a certain, it takes, what's the difference to you? Either way, you're going to have to borrow money. What good did it do? The answer is, the nature, it's a very important insight into human nature. Why is it, the Tagad, why is it, if somebody's sitting Shiva, the Gemara says that the reward you get for visiting somebody for a Shiva call, the reward you get is for silence. Tamya, what do you call it? Agra de Tamya Shtikusa. The reward you get for going to a Shiva house is sitting there silently. People often say, oh, I can't go to a visit Menachem Avai. I don't know what to say. The answer is don't say anything. You're not supposed to say anything. You know why? Because there's nothing you can possibly, what can you possibly say? A guy suffered, a person lost a family member. They've suffered an unimaginable, irreparable loss. You're going to say something that's going to make them feel good? No, you're not. You know why you visit, you know why we do that? For this reason. The person who suffers a loss feels alone. And when people come to the house, all it reminds the person you're not alone. That's what the comfort is. You're not alone over here. Unless it's a big Talmid Chacham, one of the Gedolim who comes in and knows the right words to say. There's nothing to say. There's nothing. What you're doing is, the comfort is not what you say. The comfort is that you're showing that I'm empathizing with you. You're not alone. That's chatzi, that's tzoras rabim chatzi nechama. The fact that it's not happening to you alone, it takes away that loneliness. On the 50th year, when you're going to lose your help around the house, and you hear a shofar, that's a reminder it's happening to everybody else too. That's chatzi nechama. Half of the consolation over here is I know other people are going through it. It's not because we're bad people. It's not because Kodesh Baruch Hu created us that way. It's not because we're bad people. It's because we're people who cannot bear being alone. Being alone is torture for people. Loneliness is, do you know that I think they say Christmas time in America is one of the seasons where there are the most suicides. Why is that? Why is that? It's family time. And the people who are alone around that time are the people that commit suicide because it emphasizes their loneliness. Even in prisons, what?
Valentine's Day was always like a hard day because if you're single, it's like you're miserable on that day.
All right, there you go.
You're
Right.
single, haha.
Yeah, and if you're not single, that's when you commit suicide. The what do you call in prisons, even hard prisoners. You're talking about murderers, armed robbers, the worst, most violent people. They do not like solitary confinement. They can't wait to get out of solitary and be back with a bunch of other murderers. Because solitary, that's why you need company. People are, do you know that, I'm not making this up. Why was you've heard of the Ohr HaKadosh? The Ohr HaChaim? Okay. He's good enough for you? The Ohr HaChaim's good enough for you, right? He's good reason, authoritative enough? No, he's Kabbalist, not Hasidish. He was before the Hasidim, but maybe at the same time. But he wasn't Hasidish. He was a Kabbalist. The Ohr HaChaim says, why was Adam created before Chava? Why was Adam created before Chava?
Chava wouldn't be able to be alone?
That's exactly what the Ohr HaChaim says. Chava needed somebody to talk to. That's what the Ohr HaChaim, it's not a Kaplanism. I'm telling you what the Ohr HaChaim said. The Ohr HaChaim says that a woman needs somebody to talk to. The Gemara says, Tav lemeitav tandu mi leitav arlamalu. Do you know the Gemara Kiddushin says that? A woman would rather be married to anybody than not be married at all. She'll marry anybody rather than be married at all, with limitations. With limitations, yeah. Obviously there are limitations. But it's a good thing because that's how it explains how some guys actually end up getting married. And don't let it go to your head. You were better than nothing. Is all. That's all. That's basically what the Gemara is saying. You're better than nothing. You're better than nothing. So if your wife ever criticizes you, you just say to her, "Don't criticize my choices. You were one of them." Just make sure you've had supper first. Don't worry. Your wife got plenty to say about you too. Don't worry about it. It's like I heard about this woman's in court. So the judge says to her, and her husband's accused of robbing a bank or something. He says, "You're his wife, right?" She goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you know that he was a robber before you married him? Did you know he had potential to be a robber?" She goes, "Yeah." He goes, "So why'd you marry him?" He goes, "Well, I was getting older and it was a choice between him and a lawyer, so, you know." There's another guy they're checking this guy for jury duty. So the judge says, "What's your name?" He says, "Ralph Jones." He says, "Married or single?" "Married." "How long?" 5 years. "Have you formed an opinion?" "Well, not for 5 years, sir." Oh, I got to tell you one more. We're on a roll, and we're on the subject. This young lawyer is working his first case. He's in court for the first time. So there's a farmer, and this farmer had 24 pigs that got killed. Somehow a truck ran into them from this company. So the guys, he's suing the company that killed these 24 pigs. So this guy gets up to read his, to make his speech in front of the jury. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, 24 pigs. 24 pigs. That's twice as many as there are in the jury." So, in any event, there's this idea, number one, that misery loves company, and therefore everybody goes free. Now, if you take a look, pay attention carefully. On 698, "V'kidashtem eshnasa chamishim shana, ukrosem dror ba'oretz l'chol yoshveha. Yovel hi tielechem v'shavtem isha lachuzaso." Now this is a funny halacha, because in Torah, when you sell land, the Torah describes land sales, that it's really, even a sale of land, there's a calculation that's made. The price of the land is based on how many harvests you're going to take in the course of time, and land automatically goes back to the original owner in the 50th year. So if you sell off your land, the Torah says that land eventually comes back to you in the Yovel year. If you sell it 25 years before the Yovel, you calculate the price of the land based on 25 years that you're going to be owning the land. That's the sale price of the land. And at the Yovel year, the land goes back to the original owner. And that way the distribution based on the tribal distribution of Eretz Yisrael maintains itself. There are exceptions to the rule, but that's why it says, V'shavtem ish al achudaso, each man goes back to his property. Your property goes back to you. You were forced to sell it. Now you get your property back. We're not talking about slaves now. We're talking about all land in Eretz Yisrael. Get off the land now. Give it back to the original owner who you bought it from. And everybody starts moving around back to their property. The ishal mishpachto teshuvu, and each man goes back to his family. That's referring to the slaves. Slaves go back home. Now, here the Torah is talking to the family. You see, there's an idea. A poor man, people kind of move away from a poor man. When there's a poor guy, every time he calls you up, hi, how you doing? Yeah, you know that he needs a loan, he needs a hand, he needs some help. So people are going to start crossing the streets when they see him coming, and but everybody kind of avoids the poor guy. The ishal mishpachtos tashuvu, go back to your family, and telling the family doesn't have to be the immediate family. Just everybody should welcome him back. Okay, this is the guy. He was away. He was sold. He sold himself. He worked because he couldn't afford it. Now everybody should welcome him back. Now take a look at pasuk Yudalid. And here the Torah talks about, it's unfortunate. You've heard of the smallest. They talk about the thinnest books ever written.
Jewish business ethics.
One of them. Unfortunately, they talk about Jewish business ethics. It's a terrible line. But there are rules in business, like Italian war heroes. The French, I forgot what it was. I know that there's English cuisine. These are the thinnest books ever written. English cuisine, German humor. What do you call it? These are Italian war heroes, championship teams from Cleveland. What do you call that sort of thing? So White Sox fans I'm friends with. These are the thinnest books ever written. So the Torah says, "V'chisim kerumim." Pay attention. This is serious now. V'chisim kerumim karla misecha pasuk yudalid. When you sell something to your fellow, okono miyada misecha, or you buy it from him, al tonu ishes achiv. Do not cheat each other. And then the Torah goes on and describes what I told you earlier. B'mispar shanim achar yovel tikna meisa misecha, based on the number of years, and so on and so forth. The Torah describes over here what the idea of cheating people. Now, including in cheating people, take a look at Rashi for a second. Al-Tonu, it's the left column of Rashi, second line. Al-Tonu, says Rashi, 3 words. Zo onoas momon, this is cheating with money. And the reason the Torah says it is because if you look at Pasuk 17, V'lo sonu isesh amiso, it says that again. Says Rashi, V'lo sonu isesh amiso kan hisar onoas dvorim. Rashi, 7 lines from the bottom, says this is a warning about tormenting people verbally. So there are 2 warnings here in the Torah. One is not to cheat people. Now, not cheating people is not only a blatantly cheating people, but even subtle cheating. Even subtle cheating in business is not permissible. So, for example, I once walked into a shop in Israel many years ago, and I think I needed to buy a toaster. And at the time, I think it cost about 200 shekels. So I walked into this shop, an electronic shop, and electric appliances, and there was a guy working there in the store. So I said to him, how much is this toaster over here? So he says to me, for you, 200 shekels. Just then the owner of the store came out, from guy with a beard, a Chassidish guy with a beard, and he started yelling at the worker. He said, don't say for you it's 200 shekels. For everybody it's 200 shekels. I was very impressed. Because the guy's trying to create an impression. And he's trying to create an impression. For you, it's 200 shekels. Ooh, he likes me. Oh, for me, it's 200 shekels. It's 200 shekels for everybody. So you're creating a false impression because that's the price. That's why sometimes I'm a salesman. I'm a salesman's dream. I'm not one of these people who starts, whatever he tells me, if he winks at me, wow. When I go in to buy a suit, I remember in America, when I got into suits, this big, overly friendly guy, the suit salesman in a department store, Target or something. So the guy comes over and says, how you doing, buddy? As soon as he called me buddy, he had me. I am buddy, buddy. And then I put on the suit, and he looks like, how does it look? And you ever notice when they look at the guy goes, they drop their voice. He goes, I like it. You know what that means? That means he's so overwhelmed with emotion on how good I look, he can't even get the words out. I like it. So I put on a tie. I say, how's this tie? He goes, no, I've got a better tie for you. The tie that I picked for $5.99, no, the one he's got for $24.99, he says, here, put this on. This brings out the green more. Yeah, the green for my wallet, right? Yeah, that brings out the green. Yeah, I know. But and they'll take me for a ride every time. So the guy says, for you it's 200. Wow, for me, and I'm ready to go. And then the owner comes out and the owner says to them, don't say that's the rate. It's for 200 for everybody. I was really impressed with the way the guy, because it's dishonest. This is dishonest. I'll tell you an amazing incident that happened. It's true, documented story. Guy came to Rosh Yeshiva. I think I told you this once. A guy came to Rosh Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and he said to this Rosh Yeshiva, I will want to make a donation. I want to donate $4 million to your yeshiva, but I only have one condition. I want you to promise me that I have a portion in Olam Haba. So Yeshiva said to you, listen, I can promise you that you're doing a very big mitzvah. I can't promise you a portion in Olam Haba because I'm not in a position to promise that. I don't know what else you've been involved in, what you've done, but I promise you it's a big mitzvah. He says, let me make this clear. If you promise me a portion in the world to come, you're getting $4 million. He says, I told you, I'd love to have the $4 million. I could tell you I could promise you you're doing a very big mitzvah. I can't promise you the Olam Haba. He says, one second, I don't think you understood me. If you promise me a portion in the world to come, your yeshiva gets the money. If you don't, you're not getting the money. So Rosh Yeshiva said to him, listen, you don't give us the money. You don't give us the money. I can't promise something that I don't know. So the guy said to him, okay, now I want to tell you something. There's a very wealthy man who died, and he left $4 million for your yeshiva. His kids challenged the will in court, and they said that he gave you the money, the $4 million, because you promised him a portion in the world to come. I'm an agent of the court, and I was sent here to test you. Had you promised me a portion in the world to come, you wouldn't be getting the money. Because you didn't promise me the portion in the world to come, I'm going to report it to the judge, and the judge awarded the yeshiva the money. So, they say honesty is the best policy. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. The guys who pulled off that successful $50 million jewelry heist in Belgium, they seem to be doing okay. Nobody ever caught them. So I'm not sure it's the best policy, but it's the one that we have to abide by. Right? The Torah says you have to abide by the policy. Is it the best policy? Depends what you expect to do in life. Not if I want to get to Vegas and play the roulette wheel. So robbing jewels is much better for that. But as a Torah obligation, the Torah obligation is that a person has to be meticulously honest. That was one of the situations. The other one is there was a guy went fundraising. Oh, this is a dandy. This guy was fundraising in South America for a yeshiva, for a good cause. I don't know, whatever it is. I think it was for a yeshiva or for a community, something, a good cause. So he goes to the Rav of the community. He goes around collecting money, and he gets $18 here, $10 here, $50 here. Then he went to the Rav of the community, and he said, listen, I have all this cash, and I don't want to carry this cash around. Could you maybe write me out a check in place of this cash? I'll give you the cash. So he gives him the cash, he writes him out a check for $4,000. The next night, this guy had a parlor meeting with a bunch of rich people. And he pulls out the Rav's check. He says, "Look, the Rav gave me $4,000. I think that you guys could do a good, you could. That's called Genevas Das. Genevas Das is creating a false impression. It works. It's good. I didn't say it didn't work. And a lot of times, Genevas Das works. But that's creating a false impression. It's also a form of cheating people. He didn't lie. He just he perpetrated a deception. And perpetrating a deception is not permissible. The only time it's permissible is when you're married. That's permissible. When you go out on a shidduch, otherwise there's no end to that sort of thing. When you go out to meet the girl the first time, so you're obviously wearing a tie and and you're behaving, and you're actually not interrupting her when she's talking, and you hold the car door open for her, and you actually behave in ways that you haven't behaved ever before in your life. Right? Aren't you perpetrating a deception? No, because she is too. she's also on her best behavior. So we know that when you go to apply for a job, you also put on a suit and tie. You go in to apply for your first job as an accountant or a lawyer, whatever it is. You're going to apply for a job after you graduate college. You get your degree, and you put on a suit and a tie. What, you think the guy behind the desk doesn't know that for the last 4 years, you've basically behaved like a drunken savage? You think he doesn't know that? He was also in college. He also majored in microbrewing, right? So he also knows exactly what you were up to. All of a sudden this guy's wearing a suit and tie. What, for 4 years you were wearing a suit and tie? You were in college. If you were a Muslim, you were probably protesting, right, or burning things down. And if you were Jewish, so you were in a fraternity getting drunk. Either way, you're all drunk. And he knows that. That's not called a perpetrated deception. The deception is when you create a completely false image, false illusion. It would be like setting up a date with a girl and then sending your friend to meet her, right, to make the better impression. Right? Then you'll meet her at the chuppah once she gets engaged to this guy. It doesn't work that way. That'd be a false impression. And that you're not allowed to do. That's creating. Sometimes people do things in order to do something completely false. That's called genevas das. That you're not allowed to do. And certainly to cheat people, that you're not allowed to do. Number one. Number two, the Torah then says in Pasuk Yud Zayin, Lo sonu isha samiso. And here the Torah is talking about onoas dvar. Now this we have to spend some time on. Onoas dvar means anything you say to somebody that's going to cause them pain. Anything hurtful that you say to somebody is a form of onoas dvarim, and it's an iser deoraisa. To say something that's going to be inconsiderate, something insulting, anything that you say to somebody that's going to hurt their feelings, that is going to be an iser deoraisa. Now, there are categories that are actually mentioned that are in halacha. So, for example, you're not allowed to say to a Baal Tshuva, if you know somebody's a Baal Tshuva, and frankly, Baalei Tshuva should be very proud of themselves. There are Baalei Tshuva who are very sensitive. They may not want people to know their backgrounds. But imagine a Baal Tshuva, and this is something that's not unlikely. You have a guy in shul who's talking, and the Baal Tshuva is sitting next to him, and he says, can you lower your voice? I'm trying to concentrate on my davening. And the Baal Tshuva says to him, 3 weeks ago you were eating cheeseburgers. You're telling me how to behave? So you're reminding a Baal Tshuva about his previous behavior. That's a form of onoas dvar. That's why sometimes people, I'm sure maybe you guys have experienced this, you go to a Shabbos table and somebody says to you, what does bacon really taste like? There's a Baal Tshuva, and it's 100% usher, according to halacha. Some people are proud of it, and you should be proud of it. A person, a Baal Tshuva, should be very proud of what they've done. They pulled off something that very few people in the world have pulled off. But to go and remind somebody of it in an insensitive way, you're not allowed to do. And the same thing with a convert. With a convert to tell somebody, Zachor ma'aseh avosecha. A convert is also gets into an argument with somebody, and the person lashes out and says, "Well, your grandfather was an idol worshiper. What do you tell me? What that's called? What do you call it? That's onoas dvarim." There's a famous case with the most famous convert in history outside of Rus. Rus is a famous convert. Dovid HaMelech comes from Rus. But there was Avram ben Avram. Avram ben Avram was the famous Ger Tzedek. I think the last name was Patatsky. He was a very high-ranking, his family came from a high-ranking family in the Catholic Church. And somehow he came to Judaism, and the Vilna Gaon was involved with him. and he came to Judaism. And at a certain point, the Catholic Church, they didn't take kindly to a member of a prominent family going and embracing Judaism. So in the beginning, they tried to bribe him. They said, if you come back to the church, we'll give you a higher position, this, that, the other. After that, when he turned that down, then they said they wanted to kill him. So he became a fugitive, and he was on the run, and he was hiding in a small town. And there were these little kids who came into the shul where he was learning. He would learn in the shul and hide in the shul. These little kids came into the shul, and they started tormenting him and said, you're a wannabe, you're not really Jewish. They gave him a hard time. And the entire time he didn't say anything, and eventually he lashed out against these kids. He said something back to these kids. So these kids went to their father to say that this guy said something, insulted us. So the father came to the shul, and he said, I'm going to teach you a lesson you're never going to forget. And he informed on him to the officials, and that's when the officials arrested him, and that's when he was taken out to be burnt at the stake. In the Vilna cemetery, his ashes were buried next to the Vilna Gaon in the Vilna cemetery. So Avram ben Avram, when he was being taken out, now this is documented, it's unclear whether it literally happened or not, but it is documented in the authoritative book about the Vilna Gaon, that when he was being taken out to be burnt at the stake, the Jews had all barricaded them into their houses, because when there was a Jew burnt at the stake, so then there's usually there's also a pogrom, and it was not a good thing for the Jews in 18th century Europe. And he was being taken out. As he was going leading him out to burn him at the stake, he passed the Vilna Gaon's window. And he asked the Vilna Gaon, on the one hand, it says that a person should try to keep themselves alive as long as possible. So maybe I should walk slowly. On the other hand, the Gemara says a person should run to do a mitzvah, and I have the opportunity now to do the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, dying al Kiddush Hashem. Should I walk slowly, or should I run? Or should I move fast in order to be burnt at the stake? How's that? And you thought a Rabbanim are asked about forgetting Yalav V'Yavo in Shmon Esrei, right? No. How's that for a shaila? So apparently the Vilna Gaon said it's a one-time opportunity. You should go quickly to the what he called. He went to the stake. So when he was, according to the story, one of the monks, the monks were all involved in this. This is always a good thing to burn a Jew, and one of the monks said to him, well, soon you'll be in the world of truth. We're only getting you right now. We're getting you in this world. You'll get us back in the world to come. Ha ha ha! Laughing at him, and he said to him, "Believe me, where I'm going right now, the last thing I'm going to be thinking about is getting even with you." And he gave him an interesting analogy. He said, imagine there are two 5-year-old kids on the beach. One of the 5-year-olds builds a sandcastle. And the other 5-year-old kid comes and breaks his sandcastle. 30 years later, do you think that this guy wants payback against that 5-year-old who broke his sandcastle? It's long forgotten. It's so trivial. He says, you're burning my physical body. Where I'm going, that's going to be so trivial. The last thing I'm thinking about is getting even with you. That was the first thing he said. Then he said, my soul will not rest in the world to come until I beg, plead, and daven to Hashem, that Jew who informed on me and informed on me to authorities, I will not rest until I get him out of Gehenna. That's what he said as he was burnt. Then he was burnt at the stake. That was Avram ben Avram. So to go and remind somebody that he's a convert, or to tell him something and insult him, and again, a convert should be very proud of themselves of joining the Jewish people, but to go and say it, that's a form of onaz dvarim. Now there's another form of onaz dvarim here, which people are often guilty of. It's a nasty, subtle and nasty. Your friend comes up to you, and men are very guilty of this. Women are a little more sensitive, some better, some worse. Men we're all no good. Your buddy. There's an interesting thing. If you ever need anything having to do with a car, you need a new tire, you need a new car, rent a car, wear a red car. Who do you talk to? A brother or a brother-in-law? Right? They're always the guys who are in on the car. Right? Anything with automotives, you go to your brother, your brother-in-law. They know a guy. You need a diamond. Who do you go to? An uncle. Right? And they buy uncles. Uncles are always in the diamonds and the jewelry. If it's not an uncle, it's a great uncle. I think it's a generational thing. You graduate from tires to diamonds. I think that's how it works. When you're young, you're in tires. But cars is okay. Your friend drives up. Your friend pulls out. I don't know what cars cost nowadays, but your friend pulls up with a brand new Taurus. He says, "Listen, I just got this $32,000. $32,000. My brother-in-law could have gotten you for $29,500. That's onas dvarim. You've just hurt somebody. You know why? Because if the guy's Jewish, he's never going to enjoy his car now. Because I know I'm sitting on $2,000 that I didn't need to spend. You just ruined it. You just ruined it. And somebody comes up with new shoes, do anything. Oh, what? $70? I could have gotten on Amazon for $45. Right, you just ruined his shoes. Right? Because and it's a very nasty. What are you doing? Are you helping him? Did you just help the guy out, or did the guy feel bad? That's called onas dvarim. Even more, do you know you're not allowed to go into a store? This is called onas dvarim. If there's usually this applies to more mom and pop places. To go into a store and ask how much something costs, where you have no intent to buy, that's called onas dvarim. You know why? You go into a store, a guy's got a furniture shop, and you have no intent to buy. He owns it. He's not selling for a department store. He owns a furniture shop. And you go in and say, hey, how much is that that recliner cost? What happens the moment you ask? So the guy, what happens to the guy? You get his hopes up. And then you have no intent to buy. You just go, oh, well, great, just wanted to know. And by the way, people do that often when you've already bought one. I mean, imagine that you buy a recliner. You buy a new couch. And on the way home, you pass a new furniture shop that you never noticed, and they have an advertisement in the window, lowest price in town for this couch. It's a couch that you bought. Now, if you're really Jewish, you will not be able to walk. It will be as difficult for you to get past that store as it is for a woman to walk past a full-length mirror.
That store's cheap.
Right?
You return the other one, you buy that one.
You're not allowed to. You finished a set. I didn't say what we're not talking about people do, we're talking about what people should do. You ever see a woman walk past the mirror? The minute a woman notices a full-length mirror, no matter where she is, hotel, airport, it doesn't matter where he is. A woman walking past the mirror hits the brakes. It doesn't matter where she's going. She's going to save somebody's life. There's somebody on the floor over there. There's a coronary. She's running up. She can't walk past. It's physically impossible. When I left notes for my daughters, when I needed them to do something, I put it right on the full-length mirror in the hall. Because I know they'll be there. And that's why I put up a note. I put a note right on the mirror. Sometimes the note just says, oh my goodness, what a mess. in Hebrew, I don't know if any of you know Hebrew, so I put it in, I say, zva'ah. Right on the mirror. But that's where they're going to be. You walk, I just bought it. The shop is selling it for that price. They got that. I got to find out how much it is. To go in and ask at that point is onas dvarim, and then to go and return it because you find out it's cheaper, and to return the other one after you finish the sale without his agreeing to it, you're not allowed to do unless they have a return policy. It's not a nice thing to do, but it may not be against the law. But to go and tell the guy, oh, by the way, no, you bought it. You bought it. To go and ask somebody and get their hopes up, that's called. The other category here is to cause people needless worry. To cause people needless worry is onas dvarim. Guy says, oh, my grandfather had a minor heart attack. Really? I just heard that minor heart attacks are often followed by major ones and a stroke. Right? Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Then now you cost the guy a night's sleep. That's onas dvarim. And a way to gauge it is always ask yourself one question. Is the person that I'm speaking to, what I say right now, is this going to make the person feel better or feel worse? If the answer is, and think about it, if the answer is it's going to make him feel worse, then you shouldn't be saying it. All right.